Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Remembrance Day is recognized in Terrace, a new strain of flu not covered by the flu shot, and the latest CIHL recap.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
And thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to be in the Northwest tomorrow ahead of an expected round of announcements of which major projects are getting the government fast track. The first round of so-called nation-building projects was announced in mid-September and included Kitimat's LNG Canada liquefied natural gas expansion project, a nuclear project, a terminal container project, a copper mine in Saskatchewan, and the Red Chris mine expansion here in the Northwest. Carney's highly anticipated first budget as Prime Minister, tabled last week, outlined the federal government's plans to accelerate new nation-building projects, but did not include any new specific project funding beyond what is being set aside for the Major Projects Office and accompanying Indigenous consultation efforts. Carney is in BC today for a series of appearances ahead of an expected announcement of the latest additions to major national projects on Thursday. The streets of Terrace fell quiet as residents gathered to honor Canada's fallen heroes yesterday. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante shares more.
Quieter than usual on Remembrance Day as the community gathered in downtown for the annual parade and ceremony. Though brief, the ceremony spoke volumes. Wreaths were laid, heads bowed, and the shared silence carried both sorrow and strength.
Fortune high! Right!
Local leaders spoke to CFTK-TV News.
Super proud of the town as we see lots of people showing up once again. Thankful the weather kind of held out for us. We're really fortunate, you know, we've got one of the only pipes and drum bands in Northwest BC, so it's been really fantastic that they're always here for us to do these major events for us. But obviously a somber day, and just appreciate all the attendance and the people here.
I think that it's just so important to understand history, to remember history, to educate on that, and, you know, to really understand that ultimate sacrifice and what this day means. And again, you know, when we look at cadets, when we look at rangers, you know, you're seeing so many young people getting involved again, and that's really wonderful to see. So I hope to see that more. I hope more young people get involved and understand how important this day is and what that sacrifice really means, and how fortunate they are to live in a country like Canada to have that freedom.
For me personally, it was also my mother's birthday today, so it's kind of a double thing for me. The men and women who fought for our freedom deserve to be honored. Very few of them left from World War II. In fact, I don't know that we have any now, but as everybody said here, freedom doesn't come free. You have to fight for it sometimes, and hopefully we don't have to fight for it again, but you know what the world is like these days.
It was a reminder that the freedom enjoyed today was built on the sacrifices of those who came before. Lest we never forget. CFTK-TV News, Helen Asante.
The Terrace RCMP have released a report detailing how they heard a woman was injured in a hit and run earlier this month. The incident is said to have taken place in the intersection at Calum Street and Park Avenue and occurred at 9:15 p.m. The vehicle was described as an orange Ford SUV, and it allegedly drove away after the incident, going westbound on Park Avenue. No serious injuries resulted from the hit and run, and now police are seeking out any witnesses or CCTV footage that might have seen what happened. A couple games were played this past weekend in the Central Interior Hockey League. The Hazelton Wolverines lost a 7-9 shootout to the Williams Lake Stampeders on Saturday, and then lost again on Sunday to the Quesnel Kangaroos. By the end of this week, we'll feature 3 matchups in the league as the Wolverines try to bounce back against the Terrace River Kings in the Cameron Kerr Memorial Game. And the Stampeders and Kangaroos will turn their attention to one another. And the Smithers Steelheads and the Kitimat Ice Demons will face off as well. Coming up next, the flu strain you don't want to catch. A flu strain is causing some concern in the medical world as the latest flu shot doesn't cover it. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
A severe strain and a mismatched vaccine could mean a bad flu season for Canada.
The specific strain we're worried about this year is called H3N2. It tends to have more severe seasons.
Though not a direct indicator, countries in the north always look to the south for clues to how the upcoming flu season might unfold, as theirs starts earlier. And in Australia, this year was particularly bad. The highest number of lab-confirmed cases ever amid declining vaccination rates. Another challenge, the vaccine developed for the upcoming flu season is not a perfect match to the strain circulating.
You try and predict what's going to emerge, but the virus mutates very quickly. And some years that match is very good. Some years it's not as good. We may be running into a situation this year, and I think may is the important word because it's not a perfect prediction where the match is not as good.
This year's flu vaccine targets 2 influenza A strains, including a subtype of H3N2, as well as an influenza B strain. Doctors say some protection is better than no protection.
Even if it's not a perfect match, there'll be some degree of protection. You might still get sick, but you might be protected from, for example, hospitalization or pneumonia, or the more severe consequences of infection.
The Public Health Agency of Canada says it's far too early to predict whether Canada will see a severe flu season. Among the factors that will have an impact are the effectiveness of the vaccine, but also other respiratory illnesses like RSV and COVID. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
New data on concussions show a frightening link between concussions and motor vehicle accidents. CTV's Pauline Chan reports.
Dr. Don Redelmeyer is an internal medicine specialist and researcher.
We looked at every adult in Ontario diagnosed with a concussion over the last 20 years. So that's a sample size of around 400,000 individuals.
And what they found was a dramatically higher risk of being involved in a car crash after suffering a concussion.
Patients in the aftermath of a concussion face about a 50% increase in the risk of a traffic crash, a 50% increase.
1 in every 13 concussion patients was injured in a serious car crash. The increased risk accounted for 1,633 ambulance calls, almost 60,000 days in hospital, and $835 million in medical costs.
It's a big surprise. What was even more surprising was just how dangerous the very first month was. That was associated with about a 500% increase in the risk of a subsequent traffic crash.
The study's findings hold not just for those driving, but even former concussion patients who are on the streets as pedestrians.
They also found that the risks grew with the number of concussions a patient had suffered.
I think it's a function of the brain fog, the slowed reactions, the episodes of inattention, the times of confusion that just make it harder to navigate in high-speed traffic. You can even find remnants of it 10 years later, but the most dangerous time is going to be the first 4 weeks.
Redelmeyer says concussion patients are advised to get out of the house and do moderate activities as they recover, but he urges extreme caution whether you're driving or walking in traffic. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A fabulous solar storm graced the Earth last night and is expected to make another performance tonight. CTV's Andy Garland reports.
When Tiffany Fields looked outside late last night, she saw the colorful display of the northern lights in the Nova Scotia sky.
It was just pink and red and glowing, and it was incredible.
The northern lights are solar storms that happen when electrically charged particles from the sun collide with gases in the Earth's atmosphere. An astronomy technician at St. Mary's University, Fields was ready to capture the moment with countless pictures on her phone.
And I could see the faint green glow in my camera, and I was just like so excited.
So was Mark Perkin, who lives on Nova Scotia's Big Tancook Island and shot this photo.
When we get the northern lights coming out like that, so strong and lighting up the entire sky, we can walk out our front door and it's right there. You got the ocean, you got the sky, and you don't know where one ends and the other begins.
Fields says there's another solar storm coming tonight, and she hopes it's as stunning as Tuesday's experience.
It was very strong, produced a lot of colors in the sky that were very high in altitude and then sort of able to be seen for hundreds of kilometers along the northern horizons.
This geomagnetic storm was so strong, so powerful, people saw the northern lights here in Canada, as far south as Florida, through the state of Texas, on the west coast in California, and in numerous states in the U.S. Midwest.
The BC Real Estate Association says home sales in the province fell more than 10% in October compared with the same period last year, but some regions have recovered to pre-tariff levels. The association says the multiple listing service recorded almost 6,400 residential unit sales last month, down 10.2% from October 2024. The average price, however, rose to almost 1% to more than $978,000. Among the regions returning to pre-tariff level market activity is the BC Interior, while the association says more expensive regions, such as the Lower Mainland, continue to lag. Turning now to your Northwest BC weather report. Tonight on the North Coast, expect periods of rain ending this evening, then partly cloudy, fog patches developing near midnight, and a low of +2 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect a mixed bag of sun, clouds, and rain. Daily highs 5 to 8 degrees, overnight lows from 1 to 7 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect wet snow mixed with rain ending after midnight, then cloudy with a 40% chance of wet flurries. Fog patches developing overnight, snowfall of about 5 centimeters, temperature steady near +2 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect mainly rain and showers, but there's also likelihood of a little snow in there. Daily highs 1 to 3 degrees, overnight lows from -1 to 2 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect periods of snow about 2 to 4 centimeters, winds up to 15 kilometers an hour. Temperature steady near -1, wind chill near -3 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect a fair bit of flurries and snow right through the week. Daily highs between -3 and 2 degrees, overnight lows from -1 to -6 degrees. Checking your Northwest BC highways now. On Highway 16, there's bridge maintenance as well as road maintenance, rock slope stabilization between Terrace and Prince Rupert, also slippery sections to watch out for. On Highway 37, watch for utility work and slippery sections. On Highway 37A, there's a section with falling rocks as well as bridge maintenance underway. On Highway 118, watch for slippery sections. And on the Niska Highway, there's roadside brushing underway. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cam. Still to come, a whistleblower points out Ghislaine Maxwell's lenient prison treatment. Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving 20 years for sex trafficking minors for convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, is reportedly preparing a request to be freed by the Trump administration. But that's not all. The congressional committee investigating the Epstein scandal also received reports that Maxwell is getting special treatment. With more, Joy Malvin in Washington.
Outside this prison camp in Texas, Ghislaine Maxwell is reportedly working on her freedom. The convicted sex trafficker plans to ask President Donald Trump to commute her prison sentence. That's according to the top Democrat on the congressional committee investigating Jeffrey Epstein's criminal network. Congressman Jamie Raskin says a whistleblower detailed that and a list of Maxwell's prison perks, from playing with puppies to computer use.
The whistleblower made clear that Ghislaine Maxwell is just in a completely different category than every other prisoner. She gets essentially room service behind bars. She can use the shower. She can use the gym whenever she wants to.
The family of Virginia Giuffre are horrified. In Virginia's posthumous memoir, she called Maxwell a sexual predator who trafficked her to rich and powerful men, alleging the former Prince Andrew sexually abused her when she was just a minor.
If King Charles can strip Andrew of the prince title over just affiliations, why is our president not definitively ruling out a convicted sex trafficker of minors, of children?
Donald Trump's lawyer interviewed Maxwell in federal prison last July after she claimed President Trump was not involved in any illegal activities. Maxwell was suddenly transferred to this prison camp. Congressman Raskin claims the whistleblower says the warden there is helping Maxwell apply for her freedom.
Ghislaine Maxwell is actively seeking a commutation, a pardon from the president right now.
The White House says it doesn't comment on potential clemency requests, but the president has said before of Maxwell that he has not ruled out a pardon.
The head of the Sourpuss liqueur brand said he has no choice but to move part of the production line north of the border to Montreal amid the Canada-US trade war. Andy England, chief executive of Phillips Distilling Co., says it lost virtually all of its business in Canada after US President Donald Trump set off a tariff tit for tat that prompted provincial alcohol distributors to clear their shelves of American booze. He says nearly 98% of the 1 million Sourpuss bottles it sold last year were in Canada, amounting to Canadian sales of $23 million. The Minnesota-based distiller kicked off production of Sourpuss in Montreal for the Canadian market on Wednesday. It says the raspberry-flavored liqueur will be made at the city's Station 22 distillery under a multi-year deal with bottles slated to hit store shelves next month. The move represents a rare win for Canadian manufacturing amid a tariff spat that has seen automakers and others announce plans to move some production south of the border. Turning to the markets now, Canada's main stock index gained over 400 points to reach new highs, helped by gains in the basic materials sector, while U.S. markets were mixed. The Canadian dollar rose under 1/10 cent. The price of gold gained $97. Oil was down $2.55. Natural gas was up 2 cents. Aluminum was down $27. In Toronto, the TSX was up 418 points. The Venture Index gained 13. In New York, the Dow Jones was up close to 327 points, and the Nasdaq was down by close to 62 points. Still ahead, relief in sight as the American Senate advances a shutdown deal. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has given a blunt no when asked if he's reflecting on his leadership style. Poilievre was asked about it during his first press conference since the departure of 2 of his MPs last week. Nova Scotia's Chris D'Entremont cited Poilievre's leadership when he jumped ship to join the minority Liberal government last week. D'Entremont says he knows of other caucus members who had also been thinking of leaving. Relief in the States as an end is in sight to the government shutdown that has canceled flights and affected air travel and livelihoods. ABC's Gio Benitez reports.
This morning, a major return to work for air traffic controllers with an end to the shutdown now in sight. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy saying 81 control centers had staffing shortages on Saturday, but Tuesday, just 4.
I think our air traffic controllers are seeing an end to the shutdown, and
feel more hopeful. Even with that news, the FAA still plans to reduce flights by 10% Friday until all air traffic controllers are back to work. And if the shutdown doesn't end, Secretary Duffy warning there will be more chaos ahead. I think we might find airlines that have to make decisions. Do they keep flying? If this doesn't open, you might have airlines that say, we're going to ground our planes. We're not going to fly anymore. That's how serious this is. More than 1,200 flights canceled and over 3,300 delayed Tuesday as a blast of winter weather and the ongoing government shutdown collided to create even more chaos for already weary travelers.
If they cancel again, then I'm just waiting around all day and I can drive there in 8 hours.
As some air traffic controllers take second jobs to make ends meet, President Trump has said he'll give a $10,000 bonus, but only to those who worked through the shutdown and threatening to dock the pay of those who didn't. And while the Transportation Department plans to give ATC workers 70% of missed pay within 24 to 48 hours of the shutdown ending, this morning still uncertainty for TSA workers who have also gone without pay for a month.
I've talked to a lot of people, they've taken loans out of their retirement accounts, which is very, very bad. I was like, could you imagine needing to take money out of your retirement to pay your bills when you've been going to work for the last 42 days? That doesn't make any sense.
Now, if the shutdown ends this week, it could still take days or even a week for airlines to fully recover. But the fact that so many air traffic controllers have already returned to work, well, that is giving a lot of people a lot of hope. Gio Benitez, ABC News, New York.
One California woman took her finances into her own hands and made some unlikely decisions that have paid off. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze explains.
I just reached $500,000 invested.
34-year-old Anita Kinoshita in California choosing to put homeownership on hold and invest her money toward early retirement instead.
As someone who it wasn't a six-figure earner, it was very challenging for me to have multiple financial goals.
After Anita landed a job making $70,000 a year, at first that priority was buying a home.
It felt like that was the definition of success. Like that is what my dad would want me to do.
She put in multiple offers over 2 years and realized how expensive it is to compete with all-cash home buyers. So she decided to keep renting and put her savings into the stock market, setting a goal of retiring by the age of 45.
I had to make a call between early retirement and home ownership. And to me, the time freedom that comes with early retirement is a lot more compelling than purely being a homeowner.
It's a calculus Ramit Sethi, author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, says more young Americans might want to consider.
One thing that I want people to understand, especially young people, is that you are not a loser if you rent. That is such a common belief in America that because we have not bought a house, we are somehow second-class citizens or losers.
With home prices near records and interest rates still high,
in some cases, it will be a better financial decision to rent and invest the difference. In other cases, it will be a better decision to buy. But you've got to carefully run those numbers before you make that major financial purchase.
Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News.
That's our news for now. For more local news, you can come find us at CFTK-TV.com. We're also on TikTok, YouTube, X, and Blue Sky, so make sure to subscribe to us. We'll be back tomorrow with more news from the Northwest and beyond. Thanks for watching.